So we have another John Green movie adaptation. Teenage girls are freaking out. Teenage guys, not so much. So Paper Towns is directed by Jake Schreier. It's adapted from the novel The Same Name by John Green and stars Nat Wolff, Cara Delevingne, Austin Abrams, Justice Smith, Halston Sage, and Jazz Sinclair. It tells the story of a kid named Quentin. Quentin fell in love with his neighbor Margot when they first met when he was around 9 or 10 years old, and though they were friends at first, over the years they drifted apart from each other, and now it's their senior year in high school. Quentin hangs out with his friends, which are kind of the nerdy kids at school, while Margot hangs out with her friends, which are actually the popular kids at the school, two very polar opposites for them. And one night, Margot comes to Quentin's window and asks him to be the accomplice / getaway driver in some errands she has to run that night. And after she runs those errands and leaves, she disappears and nobody knows what happens to her. So Quentin decides he's going to figure out what happened. Now, to be honest, I have never read a John Green book in my life, and I do not plan on reading them anytime soon. And I did not see The Fault in Our Stars last year, so I didn't really know what to expect going into a John Green movie. And while I don't think it's an artwork masterpiece, I do think Paper Towns is an enjoyable flick that both men and women will like, especially teenage men and teenage women. So let's start with the characters at first. So the characters in this movie are good. There's only two that really stand out. They're Margot and Ben. These characters are very different from the rest of the group, but they're also really cool and they're very interesting in many different ways. Margot's character is very different from every other character in this movie. Her thinking process is different, the way she does things is different. Her character is cool and funny and interesting, and that's what I really like about her, and Cara Delevingne does a very good job at it. Austin Abrams also does a really good job as Ben in this film. Ben is one of Quentin's kind of nerd friends, and though he is weird, he is really funny weird, and he's really nerdy weird, which really, hit me because that's kind of me, and it was just great throughout. While on that topic, Quentin, Ben, and Radar's friendship is very, very great throughout the entire film. It's probably the best aspect to this film. They have a lot of chemistry together, and they actually act like a group of friends in high school. They remind me a lot of my friends and I hanging out together. We crack jokes, we're kind of nerdy, it's just fun to be around us. They just work very well, and this film utilizes that friendship very well. Now this movie brings out many different aspects for the genre. It's a comedy movie, it's a dramatic movie, and it's a romantic movie. And I think it actually really prevails in the romantic section and the comedy section. The romantic section of this movie is Quentin trying to figure out what happened to Margot because he loves her. And there's a lot of different couples throughout this entire movie that really actually end up working out for me. It's nothing that's too unbelievable. Along with that, there were many, many jokes throughout the entire film that really pleased me, mostly because they are more aimed towards teenager and high school students. So they're more high school comedy about, this and this and that, and the gossip between some kids, and that just stuff makes me laugh because I'm in high school, it makes sense. The only department that I found lacking was drama, and drama was in this movie, it's not like it wasn't, but it never hit me quite as hard as the romantic section or the comedy section. The only part that really hit me was probably the last 30 minutes of this movie. It becomes dramatic between a lot of the characters in it, and it actually changes a lot of stuff for the rest of the movie. And I actually like that a lot. It adds more depth to the movie, and it just made it more of an enjoyable experience. Now this movie has a moderately good storyline, even though it isn't always a fast-paced movie. I think the first half of this film was kind of interesting. I could see how the relationship between Margot and Quentin was working out, and it was okay, it kept me interested, but I didn't feel like a lot was happening. But then, around halfway through the movie, this movie switches from being, we need to find these clues, to actually kind of being this road trip section of this movie. And once it hits that section, it just gets better from there. At this point, the story became more interesting, it became more involving with the audience. I felt it added more depth to it, there was more drama between the characters, it was funnier. I felt like it had more reason behind a lot of the story, and it just worked out better in the second half of this movie. This movie does become more of a coming-of-age story than it started out with, which is why I'm going to say here that it is not a movie for everyone. It is definitely going to appeal more to actually teenage girls more than teenage boys, but mostly more to teenagers than to adults. It definitely follows more teenage high school problems than it does real life adult problems. It's more aimed towards high school students. It's nothing like Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, where I felt like there were problems that adults would face nowadays in that movie with kids in high school. So, with some good characters throughout, with actors that play them very well, a storyline that starts out kind of bland, but around halfway through gets better and better as it goes on, with a fun mixture of romance and comedy while lacking in the drama department through most of it, and some really great cinematography throughout. I feel teenage girls will like this movie more than teenage guys, but teenage guys can still have a good time with it. I had a good time with it, and it's a good date movie. Just go take your girlfriend out to go see it, and they'll have a good time. You'll have a good time. Adults may not find this movie as interesting as the younger generations do, so I will give Paper Towns 3.5 stars. Guys, if you see Paper Towns, let me know below what you think of it, how it compares to other coming-of-age stories that came out earlier this year, like Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and whatever you thought, just let me know. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.